Welcome to the Heartbreak to Happiness Show with Sara Davison. If you're struggling with a breakup and you feel shocked, angry, betrayed, devastated, or sad and alone, then this podcast is for you. Best-selling author and award-winning host Sara Davison shares how you too can get on with your life to heal, grow, and move from heartbreak to happiness.
He told me that he was reading my messages. He told me he could read my emails. And I'm not sure he could, but the fear meant that I just didn't write anything. I wasn't allowed a phone in the house. So if he caught me on my phone, I remember once locking myself in the bathroom and him breaking the door down, like barging the door in, and I was on my phone. And he went mental, like he smashed the house up, chucked me around, so every time an incident like that happens, you just get more and more scared and you do less and less and less. So it got really, really bad to the point where one night he rolled on his phone while he was in bed with a prostitute. And
oh my goodness.
I heard everything. I heard like the deal. I heard them cracking on with what he had paid for. But weirdly, I found that as a moment of, this is my chance. Like, I know he's in London. I was in the middle of nowhere in Hampshire. This was my moment to get out. So I called my best friend. We got the kids in the car. We drove to a hotel, and I could take a breath and just thought, okay, I've got a few hours now. But what I didn't realise was that he had a tracker on my car.
Oh, no.
Here's your host, Sara Davison.
Welcome back to the show. Now, today I have a very special guest, Anouska Lancaster, who's been a dear friend of mine for a long time now. But I really am super excited to have her on because she's got such an inspiring story from really struggling with domestic abuse all the way through to reinventing herself and actually helping other people too with her experience. It's a real example of pain to power journey, and she's so lovely. I know you're going to love her. But before we get stuck into today's episode, I'd like to thank PensionBee, our sponsor for this episode. Now, PensionBee is a leading online pension provider whose mission is to build pension confidence and help people create a happy retirement. Now, if you're going through a breakup and divorce right now, I know pensions are probably not top of your list to think about because you're dealing with so many emotions, logistics, financial challenges, children, and really just trying to get through the day. But here's something I really want you to hear. Pensions are often one of the largest financial assets you'll ever have. And very frequently, they're left out of the divorce conversation because they feel less urgent than everything else that's going on. But when this happens, it's usually women that are the most impacted. And PensionBee's research shows that women retire with 37% less than men. And this is known as the gender pension gap. Now, PensionBee exists to make pensions a lot less overwhelming. Their app, their website, they also have a podcast, and they'll help you combine old pensions and make flexible contributions and manage your retirement savings all in one place, giving you that clarity and control at a time when so much can feel really uncertain. So if you do want to start rebuilding your financial confidence, you can download the PensionBee app today and take one small empowering step towards your future. And just remember, when you're investing, your capital is at risk. Now, thank you to PensionBee for sponsoring this episode. Now, back to today's guest. Anouska Lancaster is a luxury interior designer and the founder of Anouska Design, known for creating bold and personality-led homes that celebrate your individuality and fresh starts. Now, her work has been featured in Vogue, House and Garden, and she currently stars on Channel 4's Renovation Nation. As well, behind her success is a really inspiring story, and she is a survivor of domestic abuse, and her journey of rebuilding her life has deeply shaped her philosophy around reinvention, identity, and creating spaces that feel safe, empowering, and that are entirely your own, which I know will resonate with so many of you, especially if you're survivors of domestic abuse as well. So I am super excited to welcome Anouska Lancaster to the show. Welcome, Anouska.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we've been reminiscing because we've been friends a long time.
Yes.
But we haven't been in touch for a while. I haven't seen you for a while.
I know. Life kind of got crazy, didn't
I know.
it?
It has.
It's so nice to be reunited.
But we cross paths a lot, don't we? And we say hi. And
Yeah.
I see you on social media, obviously, doing your amazing work. So for my listeners that maybe haven't come across you, tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing now, and then we'll go back to how you got started.
Okay, so I'm Anouska, obviously, or Noosh to my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm an interior designer. Always had dreamt of being in a creative field. And when I was little, I just wanted to be an artist or a illustrator. So it feels like I've kind of come full circle by being an interior designer, because I've kind of like found my niche. I think I'm where I'm meant to be. I present on QVC as their interior designer and their garden decor expert, which I absolutely love. I'm just part of this amazing family at QVC.
Aww.
And doing so many exciting things. I've just collaborated with a friend of mine doing our own homeware range.
That's super exciting.
Which is so, I mean, that's like another dream ticked.
And that's launching soon, right?
Yeah, well, I've launched that one. I've got my own range with QVC launching as well. So I'll have 2 different collaborations going and working closely with the Ideal Home Show this year. And mine and Carrie's wallpaper has been chosen as the official wallpaper for the Ideal Home Show 2026.
Wow.
Which means basically our wallpaper is just going to be wrapping the building, the bars, the restaurants, the workshops, everything. Yeah. So it feels like this year, like the stars are aligning. I feel like all of those dreams that I had so long ago are kind of coming to fruition this year.
Well done you. That is phenomenal, because I know that it wasn't an easy start. In fact, you've been to some pretty tough places.
Yeah.
Share, if you don't mind, some of that story of what actually happened, because you have been a survivor of domestic abuse, but quite serious situation with your children as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, so I met my ex-husband when I was 21. And like I just mentioned, I had all these dreams about being an artist, being an illustrator, like huge hopes and dreams of running my own business. And as soon as you meet someone that's not right for you, like the wheels go into motion of your off tracks. So as soon as I met him, I thought, oh gosh, okay, this doesn't feel right. But I was totally love bombed to the point where I kind of was blinded by that. So my instinct was telling me something wasn't right, but I was so young at 21 and naive, and he was much older than me. He was 17 years older than me. And he was a bad boy, you know, that classic that you think's really cool when you're 21.
Yeah.
And everyone said, I think you're going to be the one to change him. So that feels a bit like, wow, okay, well, I'm like this amazing person. If I can change someone, you know, he must really adore me because he's got this terrible reputation. And I didn't know anything about drugs and alcohol when I was 21. I'd lived luckily quite a sheltered life from all of that. And so I didn't know the signs, but it worked out that he was very much into drugs and alcohol. He was in the nightclub world. Right. So there was a very dark undertone to everything that he was doing, which I was unaware of. And the relationship, when you're being love bombed and when you are with an abuser, it's kind of textbook that I've learnt now that it all happens very quickly.
Yes.
So we were engaged within 5 weeks.
5 weeks, gosh.
Of meeting.
Yeah.
And it feels like a Disney princess fairy tale. You know, you feel like, wow, this is just so exciting. Our first date was in Paris. Gosh. I was totally whisked off my feet. And there was this feeling inside that something wasn't quite right, but it all happened so quickly that I couldn't really see it.
And it feels so good. And like you say, that Disney, we're sort of almost programmed in our generation, weren't we, to sort of wait because the prince is coming.
Exactly.
And when he arrives, you'll know.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, this must be it.
This must be the moment. Exactly. And, you know, I had grown up in the suburbs. Suddenly I was hanging out in these really cool places in London.
Yeah.
He was showing me off to everyone. And, you know, it felt amazing. And we got engaged that quickly, and then we were married within 6 months. So super fast. I would say that some of that was to do with fear. Like in that 6 months, I definitely knew that there was a really dark undertone to the relationship.
Right.
But I felt like it was moving so quickly, and I was quite scared of him that there wasn't really a lot
Well,
that I
even
could
that
do.
early, you were that scared.
I saw flashes of his temper.
Okay.
And then what happens after that is then they make up for it by just being this Prince Charming again the next day. So you're just, and when you're that young, you know, I've learned now because my kids are in their 20s that when you're that young, your brain isn't fully able to comprehend emotions and break it all down, really. You know, I my kids are that age now, and they couldn't cope with what I was coping with, I think, at the time. So yeah, it was a lot to take on, and I felt very trapped, and it all happened. I didn't meet his family until the wedding, and as soon as we were married, you know, things just got worse and worse and worse, really. But I was locked in by that point, so there wasn't a lot I could do.
And that's often the way, isn't it? You sort of get love bombed, you sort of feel like you're almost trapped. You go through with it because you think, well, maybe it's going to get better, and you get those glimpses of, wow, they're amazing, and we're all back to good again, so maybe it won't repeat. But it just does, doesn't it? And then we go on and we have kids, and then we're even more stuck in that
You just
relationship.
you get so locked in. I got pregnant on our honeymoon.
Wow, that was super quick.
You know, from meeting someone to being pregnant within like a 7-month period. And he was such a con man in terms of just everyone loved him. You know, my parents thought he was amazing. My best friend could see through it. Actually, she was really concerned, but she was also scared of him. So that put her in a position of weakness. And he always saw her as a threat. So he started pushing her away from me very, very early on. And the isolation started early on. So he made me give my job up. He told me it was because he just wanted me to basically follow him around and support him. And, but, you know, as time went on, I thought, okay, no, this is isolation.
Yeah.
I was isolated from my friends, my family. I wasn't allowed to work. So suddenly all those dreams, all that creativity that I had, all just slowly faded away. And I was at home with a baby while he was living his hopes and dreams. You know, he was very successful in London doing what he loved. And I was 22 at home alone with a baby, being a housewife, very lonely. It was a really, really lonely time. Yeah, it was really difficult. And he was cheating on me pretty much instantly as soon as I got pregnant.
And you knew this?
And I knew, and he didn't really try and hide it that much from me. I mean, the way he saw it is he had a double life, really. But when you're pregnant or you've got a baby at that age and your husband's, you know, is cheating on you.
Is that because he's not coming home, or is he actually saying things? Or are you finding messages?
Oh, I'm finding everything. So he doesn't come home at night. He lies about where he is. And back then it was harder to track someone.
Yes.
So I probably would have found it easier back then to find my phone and those sort of things. Yeah. But back then, if you remember, like, we didn't have that sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I would find like hotel keys in his pockets. I would find notes from women in his suit trouser pockets when he came home. Some days he just wouldn't come home for like 2 or 3 days and say it was business. And because he worked in the nightclub business, you know, again, that was something that I didn't really know much about. But he always had that excuse. Yeah. And when I challenged it, he got really aggressive. So he'd be like, my business starts at midnight. You know, you don't understand. You know, this lifestyle is because of my work, and would really turn it around onto me so that I would feel guilty about the challenges.
And that stops you from then doing it, asking more questions or going back with further, sort of trying to stand up for yourself, doesn't it? Because you're then scared to do it. So it's almost part of the abuse training you to be quiet and not to challenge.
Yeah, and being scared of the reaction, because he was so aggressive. If I challenged him, I mean, he would just pick up a vase or something and just throw it at me, or push me down the stairs, or, you know, he was so aggressive. He had this thing of punching walls. So I was constantly surrounded by like cracks in the walls where he would just lose his temper and hit a wall. And so at the beginning, like, you know, you're kind of in this sphere. I was locked in. And obviously when you've got a child as well, you know, it became dark really, really quickly. That fairy tale was like a distant memory within a year of
and
meeting
so how long
him.
did you stay with him, and what happened for you to get out?
So we were together for, we were married for 8 years. So there was a moment where I got away. Well, I thought I'd got away. So he was really, really aggressive with me to the point where for the first time ever, I rang the police and the police came and arrested him.
Right.
He threw me down the stairs holding my baby. So this is my second child. And it was really bad. And even the police officer told me that he had been married before and that he had a long record of violence and really urged me to press charges. But I was so scared to do that because I thought, what's he going to do to me if I did that?
And that's the thing, that stops a lot of women from reporting abuse, because we may want to do that, but the consequences are huge for us, and that's behind closed doors.
Yeah, definitely. And also I was in a position of weakness because I didn't have a job. I had 2 children. I didn't have any money saved up. So I went and got legal advice in that time. In that time, he promised me that he would go to rehab, he would get help. So he was saying all the right things. And I was thinking, okay, well, you know, maybe this is the break that we needed for him to change.
Right.
In that time, I got legal advice and my solicitor sort of said, well, you know, I've done some research and the house is in his mother's name. So you don't have a leg to stand on, basically. And that started making me think about more things about being clever. And I was thinking, not only am I in a relationship of fear, but I've been totally blindsided here because I have no control over my life, my home, nothing. So one day he just decided to come back and there was nothing I could do. I rang the police and said, he's at the door. And they said, well, there's not a lot you can really do about that. So you just feel so hopeless. In that time, I also found out that he had had a relationship with a friend of mine. So having to take him back, knowing that he had slept with a friend of mine,
some friend
in my bed, a colleague that I used to work with. Because when you have that temporary split and people assume you have split up, all sorts of stuff comes out. You know, I was getting all sorts of messages from people telling me they'd seen him out in London with this woman and he knew that he had done this, and there's nothing I could do about, like, there was no, I had 2 children. I couldn't, my mum wouldn't have wanted me to go home with 2. She didn't have the room for me to go home. So after that point, I had to really start being clever. I was terrified of this man. I knew I had no control. I knew he was cheating on me. I knew he was a danger to me and my kids. So I had to start being clever and get a game plan. But the problem is because I nearly got away from him at that point, he tightened up the situation. Right. So we moved to like a new home with a new engagement ring because he was trying to tell me that it was all going to be different. But what happened was we moved to this house with 18 acres in the middle of nowhere. So I had no one. And I was pretty much in this big house by myself because he was living his separate life in London. And I had a 40-minute run to school. So I wasn't near any friends. He bought me a horse because he thought she loves horse riding. That'll keep her in droppers all day. That will mean she won't meet anyone. You know, she'll just be straw in her hair, grubby. But again, soon, because of his paranoia and the drugs, he started thinking that I was having an affair with my riding instructor, who was a gay man married to another man.
Right.
But he was just so controlling and jealous that, you know, soon he tightened up that. So that was a really awful time, I think, because I just felt absolutely hopeless. Well. It was so, and even he told me that he was reading my messages. He told me he could read my emails, and I'm not sure he could, but the fear meant that I just didn't write anything. I wasn't allowed a phone in the house, so if he caught me on my phone, I remember once locking myself in the bathroom and him breaking the door down, like barging the door in, and I was on my phone. And he went mental, like he smashed the house up, chucked me around, you know. So every time an incident like that happens, you just get more and more scared and you do less and less and less. So it got really, really bad to the point where one night he rolled on his phone while he was in bed with a prostitute. And
oh my goodness.
I heard everything. I heard like the deal. I heard them cracking on with what he had paid for. But weirdly, I found that as a moment of this is my chance. Like, I know he's in London. I was in the middle of nowhere in Hampshire. This was my moment to get out. So I called my best friend. We got the kids in the car. We drove to a hotel, and I could take a breath and just thought, okay, I've got a few hours now. But what I didn't realise was that he had a tracker on my car.
Oh, no.
So he was there at the hotel in the morning. So there were all these underlying things that were going on that I didn't even know about.
So did you go back?
So on that occasion, I had to go back, but I knew that I had a game plan. In that 2 years that we'd moved to this big house, I'd been siphoning off money slowly into a savings account. It was a bit like that movie with Julia Roberts, Sleeping with the Enemy.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'd had this game plan. I knew that he would kill me. He used to threaten to kill me all the time. Some nights he would just point a loaded gun at my head. And because we lived in the country and he went on shooting retreats, he had a gun license.
Right.
But instead of using it to go on shoots, he would just threaten me with it and hold it to my head. So if I did anything he didn't like, he would hold it to my head. So I went back, played the game, again encouraged him to go to rehab. But luckily, my dad had come back from a 6-month stint on the cruise ship, which is where he worked. And we managed to get a non-molestation order against him with all the police records that we have, a solicitor and I. So we put that in place. But obviously a character like that doesn't listen to the law.
No.
So while I was in that house, I would have, all his doormen would come around to the house and frighten me. There'd be people driving around the grounds,
It's intimidation.
Loads of intimidation. So what happened after that is that I took this money that I'd siphoned off and I left the marital home against the wishes of my solicitors, because they told me it would put me in a weak position. But I was so scared and I felt so isolated, and I was so far from my kids' school as well. I just wanted to be somewhere really safe. There was no way of alarming this great big house. So
it's terrifying. And I think sometimes solicitors, I mean, that was a while back, right? So I think there's a lot more education, including the trainings that I do. I think it's important to raise awareness. But the mental health of somebody dealing with that, the amount of pressure and living with that level of fear
it
for
was
your
horrendous.
life, it's not tenable. I mean, you wouldn't put an animal through that. So to say, well, stay because it's in your best interest is just scary advice to give somebody that's that vulnerable. Yeah,
totally. And moving was the best thing I did, and I always stood by that throughout all the court cases. Whenever that was brought up, where you've weakened your position, it was kind of life and death for me. I thought, I'm gonna die. And the best thing I ever did was moving to a rental cottage. So we went from this kind of 9-bedroom house with stables and a swimming pool, and from the outside everyone thought I was living this beautiful life, because I had a nice car. No one knew the trauma, and I didn't share it with anyone at school because I was scared. If he found out, because we'd go on, parents' dinner parties and things like that. And he was always the life and soul of the party. They all thought he was so charming and funny. No one knew. I think a couple of people could see flashes of it at dinner parties and would, people that had been through it themselves could see what was going on. But we moved to this cottage. It was right next to the school. Obviously, the school had to be made aware of what was going on, but it was just the happiest, joyous cottage. It was this little cottage. It was on main road, so I had loads of neighbours.
Fantastic.
Who were keeping an eye on for me. I had a key that had a back gate to the school. Oh, wow. So I could just walk my kids through a gate into the school. The police were amazing, and they fitted my house with the blue alarm, put alarms on all the windows. And by this point, I was at Marek level for protection from the police. So I was really, really high risk. Yeah. But I just felt so safe. And the abuse continued. I mean, someone like that doesn't stop. No. So I would have people knocking on my doors. I'd have rocks, bricks thrown through my windows at night to scare me.
I mean, that is terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It was really scary.
With kids as well. I mean, that is...
But what was really interesting is that my kids, I hadn't realised how damaged they had been from living in the abusive relationship in this great big house, because my daughter had loads of health issues. I'd been to every doctor in Harley Street to try and get her help. As soon as we moved to the rental cottage, she started sleeping. She got better.
Oh.
My son had an eating disorder. As soon as we moved to the little cottage, started eating everything and anything. So definitely emotionally, whether they also picked that up from me as well.
Yeah.
People always think, oh, I can't leave the home because of the children. Children are so resilient, and children will be as excited as you are. If you're excited, I used to say to them, we're going to move to this house and it's so cool because we're by school and you can decorate your bedrooms. There's a disco in the kitchen. And all I did was go to like a pound shop, plug in one of those disco balls, with all the multicolours and plug it in. And they thought that this house was the coolest house because it had a disco in the kitchen, So I think, for anyone listening that is really thinking, gosh, I don't know if the kids will cope with a move. The kids are happy if you're happy. Like that would be my biggest advice, and also that feeling of security as well.
So you got away.
I got away. It didn't end there. I had 8 years of post-separation abuse to deal with, and that was everything from financial control to intimidation, breaking of the non-molestation order every day. When I met someone else, the attention also spread to him. So he had to get an injunction. He had death threats. Wow. He had really serious, I don't want to say attempted murder, I would say, because, he was, my ex-husband was never charged for these things because, that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it? Yeah. For different reasons, but, really, really serious offences. So it went on and on and on, and to the point where I ran out of money very, very quickly because financial abuse of going to these top barristers and constantly writing to my solicitor. I had to stop using my solicitor within a year of leaving him, and I had to represent myself.
Hi, Sara here. I just wanted to say that if you're finding this episode upsetting or you're struggling, then please know you're not alone. There is help. You can join my free online support groups every week by visiting my website, saradavison.com. These are Zoom sessions run by my trained, accredited coaches who can answer your questions, give you some coaching support, and also you'll find your tribe of other people dealing with similar situations. So please do check those out. They're completely free. And if you're inspired to turn your pain into your superpower and train with me to become a breakup and divorce coach to help others through similar situations, then also you can find more details on my website, saradavison.com. Now, back to the episode.
I had to stop using my solicitor within a year of leaving him, and I had to represent myself.
Which is terrifying in itself, because when you're representing yourself, you get all the emails, all the letters coming straight to you.
Yeah.
So you're opening those, you're dealing with that. There's no buffer, and sometimes the buffer isn't great anyway because they pass it on. But when you've got someone else there, you think, oh, they'll help me. You lose that support. It's even more isolating. I can imagine.
And the amount of work, I didn't realise how much paperwork there is. I had to learn very quickly. My whole life was being a lawyer, basically, because I had to learn, all the applications, that you have every time you go to court. There's so much paperwork that needs to be filed.
Huge amount.
You have to respond to everything that there. And he was making over applications because he knew I was in this position, and I had to just keep batting it back myself. And the anxiety that I suffered, the stress, like you say, you can never get away from it. And his solicitor, I remember it so well, would always save the worst email to send at 5:30 on a Friday.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, and just to ruin your weekend, and you can't respond. And he had really nasty, aggressive solicitors and barristers that he would work with. But actually, from that, I think that actually has made me the person I am today, because no one knew the case, the police cases, the family court cases better than me.
Yeah.
And it gave me so much empowerment to walk into court. And before you go into court, I don't know if anyone's, been in that situation, but normally the barristers meet with the judge before the hearing.
Yeah.
So it was me. So I would meet with his barrister. We would discuss things. And his barrister never knew the ins and outs.
Yeah.
I would know every email. I would
Yeah.
know what date that was sent on. I'd know every drug test fail. I'd know.
Wow.
I knew every detail. So I was in a situation of control and power in there. And I must say that every court case that I would win, because my ex-husband wasn't paying his barrister. So every time we went to court, it was a new one.
Oh, wow.
So because he was obviously running out of money pretty quickly.
Expensive,
It's
right?
so
Yeah.
expensive. And you're talking about like it's probably a lot more now, but back then it was like £2,000 a day for a barrister.
I mean, £12,000 a day nowadays.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Can be. It's crazy.
And when the
prices.
barrister doesn't know the story, I mean, you're almost like burning the money, because I would sit with that barrister and it was the only glimmers of smile I would have on the day. I'd be like, well, you do know that he's failed the last drug test, or you do know he's on bail at the moment. And the barrister's face would sit there like, I have I'll have to go and speak to my client. And I'd be like, okay, well, you go and do that.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in there in 10 minutes,
Gosh.
So
And at least you were starting to feel like you're in control, because that's one of the biggest things when you're in an abusive relationship. You don't have that control.
yeah, you started getting the power back.
You did so well. I mean, being a litigator in person is a scary position, but you did so well. And given the fact that your confidence was so low,
Yeah.
and you financially were struggling,
Yeah.
and you were a single mum
Yeah.
to 2 kids, I mean, it's a huge amount of pressure. It's a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah.
You know,
With the police stuff going on as well, I think, because you're always on high alert. I mean, I don't think I slept for a long time throughout that situation. And, and I was so high risk that I would go to bed basically with an alarm around my neck, as well as when I went out, I used to be run off the road in my car, because he'd have so many people working for him. And I think the ultimate goal was that I would get scared and go back. And that continued to the point that I remarried. There was definitely a gate closed when I remarried. And that was a long time after, I left him at the end of 2010, beginning of 2011, and I got married in 2015. So although the abuse continued on, but that was more to do with the children, finances and things like that. The actual pursuing me, I think, stopped, which was half a relief, really, at that point. But in that 5 years of me dating someone else, it was horrendous. It was like things you watch in a horror film were going on, not just to me, but to my fiance as well, to the point where men broke into our house in balaclavas and attacked. They weren't coming in for a robbery. They came in purely to attack us and to scare us and to make us back off, or to make him back away. But actually, my husband now, my fiance at the time, he's like me. That just made him more determined and strong.
I mean, to stand by you, and I mean, it's what. I mean, that is the fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
You got the fairy tale.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, you did get it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you've been through so much, and thank you for sharing that, because, it's not easy to go back and talk about those things, I know. For people listening who are there, they're thinking, how did you get, Anouska, from that position, which is horrific and terrifying? And, the trauma from that, I guess, lasts. It doesn't just evaporate. Literally, straight away, you set up Anouska Design, your business, which is now a huge success. How on earth did you get your brain into that position to go, right, now I'm going to start a business? How did you do that?
Well, I set the business up when I moved to the cottage, because basically what happened was, it was a blank. We'd moved from this beautiful house. We'd moved to this cottage that was, just everything was magnolia. It was very much a rental cottage.
Yeah.
And I asked the landlord if I could make it really, really cool at my own cost for my kids, which he agreed to. So I was very lucky. And when I made this incredible house and I saw the effect it had on my kids, I thought, wow, interiors really can change lives. I know that sounds a bit silly.
I love that.
But it changed my life, that house. It changed my kids' lives.
How did it impact your kids' lives?
Just, I mean, in their health, in their well-being, they just loved being home. And
what did you do to it? Because you had very little budget at that point.
Oh, zero budget. I was buying rolls of wallpaper from eBay, £10 a roll of wallpaper and things like that. And, going to high street places like Matalan and Primark and just buying really cool stuff, like just fun stuff. And I think we'd lived in this fear and this kind of like, I mean, it was so dark where we'd been living. I just wanted to make everything really fun. And I really got the kids involved with like, what colour do you want your bedroom? And made it really, really exciting. And that for me was like, do you know what? I don't want to be an artist. I don't want to be an illustrator. I want to share what I've learned and what I've experienced with my kids, redesigning this house with other people. And at the time, there was this huge surge in grey interiors were all the trend. And I thought, no, it's about colour, it's about pattern, it's about creating an environment that reflects your personality. So I set the business up and, I had no experience at all. I totally hustled. I was at the school gate saying, look, can I design your living room for you? Because I knew I needed a portfolio to be able to set up a website. Like, I had no pictures. So I did that. I worked for free. And I really, really hustled. Like, honestly, I would contact people that had quite a big following, or they had great connections. So I contacted this guy who had a business in London and just said, he was a DJ and said, look, can I design your house? And in return, could you just help me in the industry? So he introduced me to someone that could do my website. Oh, wow. So I was kind of like, I didn't have any money. So I was just trading off me help you, you help me. And the business really, really just slowly started to grow from there. And he was great at giving me advice. He would say, where's your presence? This was before Instagram.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So he was like, you're not on Facebook. You're not on Google. You don't exist. You've got to start making a profile. So it was these little snippets of like information that really helped me get me on my journey. Yeah. And then from there, I thought, this is really fun. I want to kind of get into TV, so I just started approaching TV production companies. And they one production company introduced me to QVC, which is how my relationship started there. And I think they just thought I was, quite...
You're extremely likable and bubbly.
Oh, hopefully. I'm very like girl next door. I'm really honest. I always wear my heart on my sleeve, and interiors is also, it can be a very, it can be quite a snobbery field, You
kind of think that interior design is for people who've got money.
Exactly that.
And I'll just put a bit of paint on the walls and I'll buy a lamp from wherever I can afford it.
Definitely. And that was a real cliche that I really wanted to break down, that actually it should be accessible to everyone and that it really has an effect on your well-being. So I started working with QVC. I started getting paid projects, which was really exciting because once I could get my website up. So it really was like a building block. It didn't happen overnight. And for a long time, I didn't make any money, honestly. Yeah. I was just kind of working for free. And that's what I would say to anyone that's setting up a business is, don't expect it to happen overnight.
Yeah. How did you pay your bills as you were doing that?
So finally got the divorce through. This might be something that people don't know either. Finally got a divorce settlement. And we had this agreement, not many people know. I don't know if it's changed now, actually. You might know this. But at the time, when a financial settlement has been in place for 1 year, that person, my ex-husband, could go to the child maintenance service and say, I haven't got any money anymore. And that's exactly what he did. On the 1 year anniversary of me signing my divorce settlement, he went to the child maintenance service and said, I'm unemployed. I haven't got a job. So what happens is that divorce agreement, that financial settlement just becomes void.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did.
Gosh.
So we had money for the first year because it was all agreed in court, spousal maintenance, child maintenance. After that, stopped.
I mean, all that fighting to get the agreement and then just...
And it's over in a year.
Yeah.
You just think, what?
I mean, I hear this all the time.
Yeah, it's
all the time.
so frustrating. And I actually didn't know that. I hadn't realised that. Yeah. So what happened is I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to survive. But what happened was it backfired on my ex-husband because I had to move in with my boyfriend. Because honestly, I couldn't afford rent or mortgage or... Yeah. live, so we were like, okay, well, he said, I'm going to buy a house, you come and kids come and live with me. So thank God for him. And it really backfired because that probably wouldn't, if I'd carried on with my divorce settlement, with the agreement, I probably would have lived just with my kids for years to come. So actually, it kind of went against him.
It's a bit of karma in there somewhere.
Exactly. And my kids fell in love with their stepdad, and everything he tried to do went against him. So when the aggravated burglary, but nothing was stolen, happened, for a moment we thought, let's call the wedding off, because we were so scared and we were actually like, we're going to die. And then the next day, my fiance said, no, let's bring the wedding forward. This is exactly what he wants. Yeah. Let's just bring it forward. So we got married that year. We pulled everything forward. We had to have a wedding where we couldn't release the details until the last minute. We had to have security at the wedding. But something definitely shifted then. I think
you took the power back.
Yeah, we took the power back, and we said we're not scared. And it is about standing up to bullies, I think. Yeah. But
again, you have to be so careful with that.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful, because there's always another level they can sink to. When you think they've gone as bad as they can, then there's more. So I mean, so tell us. So you've got this incredible business, and you're out there creating very bold patterns, aren't they? Yeah. It's different to you. It's definitely not magnolia. It's definitely not grey. No. So can you explain for people that haven't seen it? I mean, looking at your beautiful outfit, it kind of is very representative of your patterns and designs. But tell us a little bit about where all that inspiration comes from, because each individual is different, and it's more of a personality and a story that you're telling in everybody's house.
Definitely. And I think people can overthink with interiors and think, I don't know where to start. But, I'm very much like, just go with your gut. I'm a massive believer in bright colours, and pattern really is uplifting. And I'm hoping to write a book actually called The Colours of Freedom, because I see my home as a celebration of my freedom.
I love that.
And out of everything that has come out of this journey that I've been on, like, freedom is the most important thing in your life. Like, having freedom, I pray and I give gratitude every day for that freedom, because until that's taken away from you, you don't realize how important it is. So my home is like a celebration. It's joyous. When I wake up in the morning with these sort of colors in my bedroom, it's really uplifting. It's really energizing. And I really believe that people's homes have a massive impact on how they feel. And everyone's home is totally different. Like, some people might love sunshine yellow. Some people might just find like a really beautiful green more appealing to them. But it's tuning in your personality and how you feel to your home. It's a bit like what outfit you wear. Like, if you wear something you feel confident in, it has a massive effect on how your day runs and how confident you feel and how relaxed you feel, how comfortable you feel.
And I love that, because that's what happened for me. I moved out of London after the divorce. I just, my home, I didn't have a say in how it was decorated either. And it was sort of dark wood, floors, and then it was golds, which I'm not a big fan of gold. I had gold curtains in my bedroom, and I sort of said, I don't really like those. But it was like, well, you don't know anything about design. Yeah. You haven't got very good taste, so let's go with this. And we had a designer, but she was very much told what to do or influenced. I had no input. So when I got out, my house is so different. Like, exactly as you say. And I designed it with my son. I was like, right, this is your area, this room here. It's like a playroom area. I converted the garage. And I was like, what's your favourite colour? And he's like, yellow. So we bought bright yellow cupboards. And they were IKEA cupboards. I took to the Range Rover garage down the road and said, look, please, could you spray paint these yellow for me? And they did it. And they just, I don't know, they were so lovely. They helped me out. They spray painted it bright yellow, and they're still in there today. And it was just a symbol of, that's what he wanted in his room. And in mine, I've got greens and pinks, like the pink you're wearing, I love. And when I walk into my home now, it feels like a hug.
Yeah,
it feels
a sanctuary. I think that's what I think. A lot of people live in a house, not a home. Like, that's become a really big thing for me when I meet clients, and I meet lots of people that are going through divorce. I meet so many women who have lost all sight of who they are, what they want. I'll sit down with them over a coffee and say, right, what are your favourite colours? And they'll be like, oh, I don't really know. And I'm like, well, let's go look at your wardrobe. And they're like, oh, it's not really me.
Yes.
So it's taking people on a journey, not only for their home, but for their style, for their fashion. And this one particular woman who I loved working with, who didn't have a clue when she started, because she had been very controlled by her ex-husband. She dresses so differently now.
I love that.
Like, her home is like loads of pink, and she dresses in pink, and you know, it's so lovely just seeing the difference in someone's confidence from when you meet them at the beginning, because interior design is almost like a therapy. You know, you spend so much time on a journey trying to understand someone, what they're drawn to. You know, you end up having really deep conversations about things, and because you've been through it, I'm sure that helps to sort of understand where they're starting from, because you have no confidence, and if you don't even know what you like and what your favourite colour is, it is a bit of a journey, but they need to trust, and that's why it's great to have somebody like you that has walked in those shoes. Yeah, definitely. And it isn't about spending loads of money in Chelsea Harbour, you know, it really isn't. It's tiny. How do you do it then? Because if someone's listening going, well, okay, I love pink, I love yellow, green, whatever your favourite colour is, where would you start? If someone's listening, go, okay, how do I get started? What would your advice be? I'd say go into a store you love. So, I don't know, let's think of, just say a department store. Yeah. And just wander around, and there's no rules. So that's the first thing. There's no rules for your home. You know, we're so battered by magazines and trends, and wipe all of that and just go in and just see what you're drawn to. So a really good place to start is like a piece of art. Right. So if you find a piece of art that you love and that you keep thinking about, buy that. And then from there, you'll probably see like colours in that you really like. Yeah. But have that as your focal point, your starting point, and then go backwards. And then you might think, well, actually, the favourite thing about this picture is that blue flower or something, and then you might think, actually, I'm gonna go and buy some cushions in that colour. And it can start off really slow. It could be that you're transforming a room just by a couple of cushions, a throw, a piece of art. It doesn't need to be like some famous artist, you know. It could be a picture in IKEA or a poster, you know, online. And it's just slowly putting your stamp on your home and just doing it really slowly. It's not about a renovation. It's not about knocking down walls, and it's finding a candle that you love the scent. That can make a huge difference, actually. Massive difference. Really can. Or bed linen that you just really love. Little moments of joy. It could be just, you know, I love cutting flowers from my garden and just putting them in a vase. Yeah. Like little touches like that make a massive difference, and adding colour, pops of colour to your home. So it's little things you can do, because, you know, I was in that situation where I didn't have a penny, you know, honestly, like when things, you know, when that tap was switched off, it was really, really difficult. But it's finding little things that can fill you with joy. I mean, my favourite shop still is Home Sense. I love that store so much. You know, just buying a candle from there to add a pop of colour and a lovely scent to your home is just like little things. Just be kind to yourself, I would say. Just be kind to yourself, and don't think that you have to do this big makeover. No, it's true. And I think that it's almost like having the freedom. I think that really resonated with me when you said throw the rules out, because I always still have in my head, interesting when you said that, I realised that you're not very good at this, Sara, the interior design thing. You're not very good at it. And that's not my voice. No. That's what I was told back then. And even though I've designed my house, I know that I still think, oh, maybe that's not quite on trend, or maybe but I love it. That's all that matters. Honestly, like every person we know, their wardrobe will be completely different, and therefore everyone's homes should be different. Really different. But I think everyone's like a little bit nervous about interiors, because they think, oh gosh, like you say, you know, you have to be a celebrity to have an interior designer, or you have to have a degree. You know, I mean, I don't even have a degree in interior design, you know, and I'm out there like launching my own collections. And tell us about that. You've got a new collection coming out. Tell us what to expect. So when I first started out, if someone had said to me, you'll have your own interiors brand on the high street, I would have just, you know, that was a dream. I think somebody interviewed me in 2012 and just said, what is the dream? And I remember sitting there thinking, gosh, I haven't even got a client at the moment. and I said something like, oh, to have my own brand on the high street would just to bring that joy that I've experienced in that moment of that move and that freedom, to bring that to other people. And This Saturday, 28th of March, is the launch of my own collection with QVC, which is really exciting. And it means so much to me because it's called the Cornwall Collection. And my husband and I and my family relocated to Cornwall a few years ago. And it's been it's our sanctuary.
Beautiful home.
Yeah, it's our fresh start. It's our fresh palette. It's been my laboratory of trying things out with my designs, because my husband just says, you should do whatever you want, and is fully supportive, and it's gained so much press, and it's so lovely that I've come full circle, and this collection's called the Cornwall Collection because it's really, really sentimental.
And what can we expect from it?
So it's a home and garden collection. It's really affordable, but it's very much like my signature style. So layering textures, patterns, colours, indoors, outdoors, and just little ways to make your home just feel fresh and new, and to put your personality on it. And the colours are not really, really overwhelming. The main colours are like this beautiful coral colour, a lovely like pastel blue, neutral backdrop, and then little pops of yellow. So it's really easy to like introduce into anyone's home, really. And then you can layer it up as much as possible. So one thing that I found hard, when I was setting out, was going to lots of different places to get things that work together. So I've brought a whole collection that anything you buy works together. So you don't need an interior designer. There's no thought process. You can just go to the page, and anything you select and buy, will all work together. So I wanted to make it really easy for people, a really affordable collection for people, but something that's really joyful. And it's all beautiful, like coral, fish patterns, seahorses.
I've seen it. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic.
I love it.
So it's coming out on the 28th of March. So when this airs, it will be out.
Yes, go and
Where
have a
can
look.
people go and check it out?
So the QVC UK website, if you just type in the Cornwall Collection or Anouska Lancaster, it will come up. And
super cool.
I'm
Okay.
so excited.
Well, we've got to go check all that out. Thank you. I mean, it's so inspiring talking to you. I know there's so much more we could talk about. Just quickly, I want to touch on the fact that you are quite passionate about going to schools, aren't you? Because for me, creating change that lasts, having gone through a lot, and obviously you've gone through so much there. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're hoping to introduce into schools.
Yeah, so I'm a patron of Kaleidoscopic UK, which is a domestic abuse charity. So we support survivors and victims of domestic abuse. And basically, I just wanted to turn all that darkness into something really light and positive. So I cherish my role with the charity so much, and I see the difference that we make in people's lives. And Berkshire Women's Aid were a massive support to me when I was going through it. So it's lovely to be able to give back. And I'm really hoping to work in women's refuges as well, helping with interiors. But another side of it is education in schools. Yeah, so there's a program that we set up called Educate to Eradicate. And I really believe that if I had had the education in secondary school about red flags, understanding what a healthy relationship looks like, I probably wouldn't have got into the situation. Yeah. So it's trying to stop the issue at the cause, I think. And if we can educate young people with what is right and wrong, because I think they're so influenced, young people, by social media and what they're seeing and peer pressure. There needs to be a rule book out there that they have got a reference, that if they're confused, should I be being told what to wear, and should he be tracking my phone, and all of these things, you have a reference point where you can go, actually, no, that's a red flag. That's not right. So I'm really passionate. We're trying to get meetings in Parliament at the moment to get that rolled out into all schools as part of the curriculum.
I think that's an incredible idea.
Yeah.
There's a lot we need to do, and I campaign a lot for other issues, but I think all of us doing it, putting pressure on, hopefully we'll get that change, because like you say, getting in at school level will really change for generations. So we've got to break the generational cycle and the patterns, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's getting worse as well. I think with social media, after watching programs like Adolescence, I think it's a really, really serious situation that we all need to come together, and talking like we're talking today on these taboo subjects is so important.
So important. Thank you. So just one more final question. I could talk to you for hours, but one more question that I ask all my guests on my podcast. It's called Heartbreak to Happiness. So what is happiness for you?
Oh, gosh. I think I've just touched on it. Probably having freedom, I think, is happiness. Having the freedom to say yes to things I want to say yes to and no, and little things that people take for granted, like, you know, an invite for a glass of wine with a friend, which back when I was married would have been probably a week of turmoil for me, because I would have had to think how I'm going to approach that subject, then the fear factor, and then when I'm having that glass of wine, being terrified of the consequences when I get home. And those are things that you have to look back on and think, wow, you know, I feel so blessed now that I have freedom. I have a lovely Prince Charming that I finally found who supports me in my work. So I think freedom and a happily ever after, and it does exist. You just got to keep believing, I think, and don't let whatever you've been through damage your aspect of the future. You know, keep hope and keep positive and keep smiling.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time today. I think your story will have resonated and hit hard with a lot of my listeners. So thank you for being brave enough to share that. And so much advice and inspiration. Thank you for being a fabulous guest.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. Please do like, follow and subscribe and all that good stuff. But before we go, I'd just like to thank our sponsor for this episode, Pension B. Now, their website and app can help you take control of your retirement savings. If you're navigating divorce or you're starting over, that clarity really matters. So download the Pension B app to get started. And remember, when you're investing, your capital is at risk. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
That's it for today's episode of Heartbreak to Happiness. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to win a free ticket to Sara's virtual Heartbreak to Happiness retreat. This is a transformative combination of live webinars with Sara herself, coupled with her empowering online video program designed to help you cope better with your breakup and start feeling happy again. Thank you, and join us again on the next episode for another dose of Heartbreak to Happiness.